This man managed to get into one of the biggest clubs in the world even though he grew up in a Sao Paulo favela. How can someone go from living in one of the most dangerous hoods in Brazil to signing €100 million deals and becoming one of the most expensive players in the world? Well, this is the story of Antony, the boy from hell.
Moves it up to Antony. Antony with a chance. Manchester United take the lead.
Antony grew up and spent his entire childhood in a favela outside the city of Osasco in the state of Sao Paulo, known as Inferninho, which translates as Little Hell. At that time, he used to sleep in bed between his parents because his family did not have the money to buy a bed for Antony. And that's what keeps the Antony family so close and helps them survive. Then something happened when he was 11 years old. His parents divorced. It was the most difficult moment in his life because at least before, he had both his parents. Now his mother is gone and he lives with his father, who usually goes to work at 5 a.m. and comes back at 8 p.m. But that moment gave him a lot of motivation to get his family out of poverty and the favela. The place he grew up, Inferninho, was a very dangerous place. 15 steps from his front door, there are always drug dealers doing their business, passing goods to each other. The smell was always there outside his window. In fact, one of his first memories is of his father getting up from the sofa on a Sunday and shouting at his friends to leave them in peace, because Antony was inside trying to watch a football game. He was so used to seeing guns that it wasn't scary anymore. It was just part of his everyday life. He was more afraid of the police breaking down his door. Once, the police stormed his house looking for someone and the police ran screaming. Of course, the police found nothing, but when he was very young, he will always remember those moments. One day on his way to school when he was 8 years old, he came across a man lying in the alley. He didn't move, but when he got closer, he realized this man was dead. For some children, this is a very scary experience, but in the favelas, they become numb to these things because there is no other way to go. He was in a hurry and had to go to school, so he just closed his eyes and jumped over the dead body. Every day, his older brother took him to the favela pitch to play football. In the favela, everyone plays football, even if they are construction workers, bus drivers, drug dealers, or gangsters. At that time, he was playing football on the asphalt barefoot, and his feet were bleeding because he didn't have money to buy proper shoes. When he plays football, he dribbles with a viciousness that comes from God. It was his natural instinct, and even though he was small, he refused to bow his head to anyone. He would elastico the drug dealers, rainbow flicks the bus drivers, and nutmeg the thieves. He really didn't care who they were because with the ball at his feet, he had no fear. He learned all his football tricks from legends such as Ronaldinho, Neymar, and Cristiano Ronaldo, whom he usually watched on YouTube. This was possible because his next-door neighbor, Toniolo, treated him like family, gave him his first video game, and let Antony steal his Wi-Fi so he could watch YouTube and get a football education. When he was 8 years old and playing football on a favela field, the older man was watching him perform his tricks against the gangsters. He turned to the others watching and said, "Who is that little boy?" It was Grêmio director Barueri. He gives Antony his first chance to leave the slums and play for his futsal team. After that, Antony started dreaming and turned to his mother and said, "One day, when I become a footballer, I will buy you a car." Of course, his mother laughed at him. At the age of 14, he got the opportunity to join the academy of one of the largest clubs in Brazil, Sao Paulo FC. Antony's tenure there did not go smoothly. He was almost expelled from the club 3 different times for disciplinary reasons. And then every day after school, he went to the academy on an empty stomach. Sometimes, Antony and his teammates pool their money to buy cookies for the bus ride home. At that time, he was so skinny, but he always played with blood in his eyes. This is the kind of intensity that comes from the streets. At the age of 18, Antony made his professional debut for Sao Paulo after coming on as a substitute in a 1-1 draw against Grêmio. After that match, he was immediately demoted to the club's U20 team to take part in the Copa Sao Paulo de Futebol Júnior. Luckily, his team won the cup and he scored a goal in the final against Vasco da Gama. He was also named the best player of the tournament due to his 4 goals and 6 assists in 9 matches. Even though he has made his professional debut, he still lives in the favela and still sleeps in the same bed as his father. Following his impressive performance in the tournament, Antony returned to the first team and began receiving more first-team minutes. He scored his first goal in 2019 in a 1-1 draw against Sao Caetano. He immediately stood out as one of the best players in the Campeonato Paulista, having scored 2 goals, including one in the final in a 2-1 defeat against Corinthians. The night after he scored against Corinthians in the Paulista final, he returned home to Inferninho. People pointed at him on the street and said, "I just saw you on TV. What are you doing here?" "Brother, I live here," said Antony. Everyone laughed and they didn't believe it. After his impressive performances with Sao Paulo, on the 23rd of February 2020, Ajax signed Antony to a 5-year contract with an initial value of £13 million, which could rise to £18.2 million. At that time, Antony competed with David Neres for a place in the starting lineup and ultimately won his place. He made his debut for the club on the 13th of September 2020, scoring the only goal in an away win over Sparta Rotterdam. He also made his UEFA Champions League debut in a 2-2 draw against Atalanta. Antony scored his first goal of the competition in a 2-1 away win over Midtjylland. In the 2020-21 season, he finished the season with 11 goals and 10 assists in 46 games. He also scored in a 3-1 win against Vitesse in the domestic cup final, helping Ajax win the domestic double of the Eredivisie and KNVB Cup. The following season, despite the signings of Mohamed Rami and Steven Berghuis, Antony retained his place in the starting lineup, and with 2 goals and 5 assists against Sporting CP and Borussia Dortmund, Antony helped Ajax become the first Dutch club to win all 6 Champions League group matches. His 3 goals and 1 assist in December 2021 earned him the Eredivisie Player of the Month and Talent of the Month. On the 20th of March, Antony scored a dramatic winner in a 3-2 win against De Klassieker rivals Feyenoord in the Eredivisie. However, he was sent off after receiving a second yellow card in stoppage time for time wasting. 9 days later, while on international duty for Brazil in the World Cup qualifiers, Antony suffered an ankle injury, which ruled him out for the rest of the season and ended the season with 12 goals and 10 assists, enough to help Ajax retain their Eredivisie title. The 2022-23 season began with a dispute over Antony's desire to leave Ajax. After Ajax rejected an €85 million transfer offer from Manchester United for his services, he refused to attend training and was left out of the matchday squad against Sparta Rotterdam and Utrecht. In an interview, Antony revealed that he wanted to leave in February, but he waited until the end of the summer window to go ahead with his transfer, turning down a contract extension from Ajax to pursue his dream of playing for Manchester United. On the 30th of August 2022, Ajax confirmed it had reached an agreement with Manchester United for the transfer of Antony. 2 days later, Antony signed a 5-year contract for a transfer fee of €95 million and received £200,000 per week. This is the 3rd highest transfer fee ever paid by Manchester United and the largest transfer fee for Ajax and the Eredivisie. On the 4th of September, he scored on his Manchester United debut in a 3-1 win over rivals Arsenal. Antony ended his first season with 8 goals and 3 assists in 44 games. Although his first season with Manchester United was excellent after helping them end a 6-year trophy drought with the EFL Cup. However, Antony's second season at Manchester United did not go smoothly. He was unable to score a goal for more than 10 months and was left out of Brazil's squad for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying matches against Bolivia and Peru following allegations of domestic violence against his ex-girlfriend. Antony denied the allegations and was given permission by United to defend himself. On the 29th of September, Antony returned to Manchester United training after being declared not guilty by Greater Manchester Police. That's how quickly things change. He went from the slums of Brazil to Ajax to Manchester United in 3 years. Not only does he have his own bed, but the promised red Range Rover is in his mother's driveway. "Did you see Mom? I told you I would make it, and I did," said Antony. "When I told her that when I was 10, she laughed. Now, when I remind her, she cries." People always ask him how he managed to turn things around so quickly. That was because he didn't feel the pressure and fear on the football field. When you grow up and have to jump over dead bodies just to get to school, you can't be afraid of anything in football. Well, that's the story of Antony Matheus Dos Santos. If you still don't understand him, Or if you still think that he is a clown, this is his message to you. Even if you are born in hell, that is a small gift from heaven.